Hello everyone. I'm Elena, and today I'm sharing a story about betrayal, silence, and the quiet revenge I'd been planning for months. It's a real-life tale of watching the people who broke you celebrate, only to see the truth catch up with them. Stay with me because this is where my story and their reckoning begins. The pen scratched against paper and just like that, it was over. My name is Elena Brooks, I'm 34. Have you ever watched your whole life end, and felt absolutely nothing? The judge didn't look at me again after signing. My ex-husband Daniel did, but only for a second. He smirked. Not even subtle. Like he'd just won something. I stood there, one hand holding my daughter's small fingers, the other resting gently on my son's shoulder. They were quiet. Too quiet for kids their age. The courtroom felt colder than it should have, like the walls already knew I didn't belong there anymore. Behind me I heard Daniel's mother whisper, "Finally." A soft laugh followed. Bucking. Light. Effortless. I didn't turn around. 10 minutes later I walked out of the courthouse holding both my kids. No tears. No hesitation. Just silence, and the weight of something I had been carrying for months. My phone buzzed once in my coat pocket. I didn't check it. I already knew where they were. Across town in a private clinic, Daniel and his entire family were gathered. Smiling, recording videos, celebrating his mistress's pregnancy like I had never existed. I adjusted my grip on my daughter's hand as we stepped into the pale afternoon light. The wind brushed past my face, soft and indifferent. And for the first time in years, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't heartbroken. I was ready. I didn't rush. The courthouse doors closed behind me with a soft thud, and for a second, it sounded louder than everything that had just happened inside. My son tugged lightly at my sleeve. "Mom, are we going home?" Home. The word lingered in the air like something fragile. I looked down at him, brushing a loose strand of hair from his forehead. "Not yet." My daughter squeezed my hand tighter. She hadn't said a word since the judge signed the papers. Not when Daniel walked past us. Not when his mother smirked. Not even when someone in the back quietly laughed. Silence can be louder than cruelty. We walked toward the parking lot. My steps were steady, measured. Every movement felt intentional, like I was following a script only I had seen. In my bag my phone buzzed again. This time I took it out. One message. "They're all here. Room 304. She looks nervous." I stared at the screen for a moment longer than necessary. Then I locked it and slipped it back inside. "Are we going to Dad?" my son asked. I shook my head gently. "No." Across town I could almost picture it. The bright lights, the forced smiles, Daniel standing too close to her, his hand resting proudly on a future he thought was secure. A quiet celebration built on loud betrayal. I opened the car door, helping my kids inside before walking around to the driver's seat. The engine started smoothly. For a second I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. Composed. But there was something else there too. Something colder. The seat beside me felt prepared. Like it had been waiting. I exhaled slowly and pulled out of the parking lot. Not toward home. Toward the clinic. The clinic smelled like antiseptic and fresh paint. Too clean. Too bright. Like nothing bad had ever happened inside those walls. I held the elevator button, my kids standing quietly beside me. My daughter leaned her head lightly against my arm. My son kept glancing at the digital numbers above the door as if they meant something important. When the elevator opened, it was empty. Of course it was. We stepped in. I pressed 3. No one spoke. The soft hum of the elevator filled the silence, steady, mechanical, almost comforting. My reflection appeared again in the mirrored wall. 3 versions of me, slightly distorted. For a moment, it felt like each one was carrying a different version of this story. One who stayed. One who broke. And one who waited. The doors opened with a soft chime. Room 304 was at the end of the hallway. I could hear them before I saw them. Laughter. Loud. Unfiltered. Careless. Daniel's voice stood out the most. "Make sure you get this angle. Yeah, this is big." Another voice chimed in, "His sister maybe. She's glowing. Oh my God, this is perfect." My fingers tightened slightly around my bag. Inside it, everything was already in motion. A nurse passed by me, then slowed down. He glanced at my kids, then at me. Something unreadable crossed her face before she walked on. We kept moving. step by step. The closer I got, the clearer their voices became. Mocking joy wrapped in celebration. I stopped just outside room 304. The door was slightly open. Through the narrow gap I saw Daniel, standing beside her, smiling like nothing had ever been broken. Like I had never existed. My daughter shifted beside me. Mom. I placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Stay right here, I whispered. My hand moved toward the door. Not to knock. Just to open. Because the moment inside that room was never meant to belong to them. The door opened without a sound. For a second, no one noticed me. Their laughter filled the room, bouncing off white walls and polished floors. A phone was held up, recording. Balloons tied loosely to a chair shifted in the air from the AC vent. Daniel stood closest to the bed, his hand resting on her arm like it belonged there. Like I had never existed. Then his sister saw me first. Her smile froze mid-laugh. What is she doing here? The room shifted. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough. Daniel turned. And for the first time that day his expression cracked. Not fully, just a flicker. Confusion first. Then irritation. Elena? He said like my name was an inconvenience. No one told me to leave. They didn't need to. I could feel it in the air. The quiet judgment, the unspoken rejection, the assumption that I had come to beg, to break, to cry. But I didn't move toward them. I stepped inside slowly, closing the door behind me with a soft click. The sound felt heavier than it should have. The woman on the bed, his mistress, shifted slightly. Nervous now. Her earlier glow had dulled, replaced by something uncertain. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the sheet. Daniel let out a small breath, almost a laugh. This isn't the place for drama. Drama. I almost smiled. A nurse standing near the monitor glanced at me, then back at the screen. Her movements slowed just slightly. The doctor beside her adjusted the file in his hands. Once. Then again. Silence began to stretch across the room, thin but noticeable. Daniel's mother cleared her throat. If you're here to cause a scene. I'm not, I said quietly. My voice didn't shake. They didn't need to. Because I hadn't come to take anything from them. I had only come to let something arrive. And right then, the doctor stopped speaking mid-sentence, stared at the report, and reached for the phone. The room didn't understand what was happening yet. But I did. The doctor's voice dropped into something quieter, tighter. Can you confirm this file for me? He asked the nurse, not looking at anyone else. The nurse leaned closer. Her eyes moved across the screen, then back to the printed report. Once. Twice. Her hand paused midair. Daniel frowned. What is it? He said, a hint of impatience slipping through. Is everything okay? No one answered him. The silence this time wasn't passive. It was forming. The woman on the bed shifted again, her earlier confidence completely gone now. Doctor, she asked, her voice thinner than before. The doctor inhaled slowly, then reached for the phone on the wall. Not to congratulate. Not to reassure. To call. That's when Daniel's sister let out a small, confused laugh. Why does this feel so serious all of a sudden? No one joined her. I stood near the door, my hand resting lightly on my bag. The fabric felt familiar under my fingers. Grounding. Inside it, a folded document pressed against the lining. Months of quiet preparation. Small steps no one noticed. Daniel turned to me again, sharper this time. Elena, what did you do? I met his eyes. For the first time that day, he didn't smirk. I didn't do anything, I said softly. And it was true. I hadn't changed anything in that room. I had only made sure the truth would be seen clearly. The nurse stepped back. The doctor spoke into the phone. Yes. I need security in room 304. That's when the air shifted completely. Not confusion anymore. Not irritation. Fear. And somewhere behind it, recognition. No one moved when the word security settled into the room. Just stayed there. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Daniel let out a short laugh, but it didn't land the way he expected. This is ridiculous, he said, looking around for someone to agree. It's just a scan. Why would? Sir, the doctor interrupted quietly, still staring at the report. I need you to step back. That's when the shift became visible. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just real. The woman on the bed pulled her arm away from Daniel almost instinctively. "What's going on?" she whispered, her voice trembling now. The nurse finally spoke, but not to them. To me. "Are you Elena Brooks?" I nodded once. Daniel turned sharply. "Why are you asking her anything?" But the nurse didn't answer him. Instead she reached for another file, thin, sealed, untouched until now. Her fingers hesitated for a second before opening it. Paper sliding against paper. A soft, almost fragile sound. The kind that changes everything. I felt my daughter's small hand slip into mine again. I hadn't noticed her walking closer. My son stood just behind her, quiet, watching. Always watching. Daniel's mother stepped forward. "Enough of this. Someone explain what's happening." The doctor finally looked up. Not at them. At me. And in his eyes there was something steady, something confirmed. "This report," he said slowly, "doesn't match the patient's identity." Silence. Pure. Absolute. Daniel blinked. "What does that even mean?" The nurse swallowed. "It means, the pregnancy file attached to this appointment isn't hers." The room seemed to tilt. And for the first time, their perfect moment didn't just crack. It broke open. "No. That's not possible." Her voice came out first, thin, shaking, almost unrecognizable from the woman who had been smiling minutes ago. Daniel stepped forward again. "Fix it," he snapped. "Whatever this mix-up is, fix it." But no one moved to fix anything. Because there was nothing to fix. The nurse carefully placed both files side by side on the small metal tray. 2 names. 2 records. 1 truth that had been misplaced. "He'll know." "The scan you're celebrating," the doctor said slowly, choosing each word, "belongs to another patient." Silence swallowed the room whole. Daniel's sister let out a nervous laugh again, but it died halfway. "Okay, so where's the real one?" No answer. Just the faint sound of footsteps approaching from the hallway. Security. The woman on the bed sat up abruptly, her face pale. No, this doesn't make sense. I am pregnant. I took tests, Her voice cracked. And for a second I almost felt something. Almost. Daniel turned to her, confusion now replacing certainty. "You told me." "I am," she insisted, but even she didn't sound convinced anymore. The door opened behind me. 2 security officers stepped in, calm but firm. One of them spoke quietly with the doctor, glancing once at the files, then at her. And then, at me. Recognition again. Not loud. Not announced. Just understood. Daniel looked between all of us, his voice rising now. "Elena, say something. What is this?" I finally stepped forward. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just enough. "I told you," I said softly, meeting his eyes one last time. "I didn't do anything." Pause. Then, "I just stopped protecting your lies." And in that moment, their celebration turned into something unrecognizable. The room smelled different now. Not sterile. Not celebratory. Just heavy with truth. Daniel's face had drained of color. His mother stood frozen, fingers tightening around her pearls. The woman on the bed stared at the files, her earlier confidence replaced by shock and doubt. The security officers guided them gently but firmly toward the hallway. No yelling. No chaos. Just the quiet authority of consequences arriving quietly, yet undeniably. I knelt beside my daughter, smoothing a strand of hair from her face. She looked up at me, eyes wide, not with fear but understanding. My son leaned into my side, silent but steady. I didn't need to say anything. The room itself had spoken. Every mocking smile, every cruel whisper, every laugh they had thrown at me over the years had finally reflected back. Distorted, undeniable, and exposed. I gathered my kids and turned toward the exit. The balloons still swayed lazily in the leftover drafts, the video camera abandoned on a counter, recording nothing now but empty space. Outside, the afternoon sun felt softer, warmer, forgiving. I held my children close and exhaled slowly, letting the quiet fill the spaces that anger once occupied. I didn't need to fight. I didn't need to scream. Justice had arrived quietly, elegantly, through truth and timing. As we walked into the calm light, I realized something that made my chest feel lighter than it had in years. Revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was patient, precise, poetic. And in that clarity I smiled.